Hey everyone, it's JC with the Handy Millennial. On today's episode, I just wanted to cover some tips and tricks for installing flooring. So as you can see here, I am in the process of installing some new LVP in my mobile home project. I went with this because mobile home floors are typically plywood subfloors. So having a nice bendable material to install, I think would be very helpful for a long-term solution. So there are a lot of different products out on the market for LVP, different brands. They come in different thicknesses, different material types. A lot of them already have the underlayment installed. Some of them are more expensive than others. Some of them are actually, some composite materials. So really you have to look around to find the best solution for what you're trying to accomplish. So when you measure the room, you'll get your dimensions and the amount of square footage. Each box will usually tell you how many square feet it covers. So you just have to calculate how many boxes you'll need for your project and get one or two extras just to make sure you're buying it from the same lot so that the colors match. So once you get it into the room, let it sit for about 48 hours to acclimate to the environment that you're installing it in. This allows the floor to expand and adjust to the environment for installation. So LVP is fairly easy to work with. A lot of them will have an interlocking system. This piece has actually been cut to fit, but you'll see here, there's two edges, male, female. Usually install it all in the same direction. Some people prefer to start in the corner of the room. There are some installers who also still start in the center of the room. There's really no right or wrong way to do it, in my opinion. Also, controversial statement there. But definitely just make sure that you are installing it level, that your floor is level and clean, and that you have straight lines really is what the output is going to be. So it's also important to understand that leaving a gap around the edge of the room will allow the floor to settle over time. And as you move things like furniture and start walking on it, it will start to flatten and press out towards the walls. So if you don't leave a gap, it can actually press too hard against the wall and start to cause it to buckle in the middle of the room. So again, use some spacers. I also found this really great kit. That is a floor installation kit. It came with a rubber mallet, tapping block, some spacers, and this cool pull bar that you can actually use to pull the material closer together when you're working under things like cabinets. So lots of cool things out there. They also make LVP cutters. If you're doing just a small project, you don't necessarily have to invest in one of those. You could probably find one used on a marketplace somewhere. But a lot of these you can actually just score a few times with a box cutter or knife and then actually snap the material to fit the cut. So more complex cuts or around corners, things like that will require something like a jigsaw to make those cuts. So also helpful to make a cut on the back side through the underlayment as well, so that you don't shred that when you're trying to detach it. So one thing to keep in mind when working with this that I've discovered is that if you leave your edges exposed while you're working, sometimes you can snap these off by stepping on them. Sometimes they fall apart as you're working with it. So just be very cautious over time that you're not walking on the edges of those and breaking those pieces off. So you can kind of see the corner here on this piece got broken off because I stepped on it while I was installing this in the bathroom. So a lot of this flooring claims to be waterproof. The important part there is to make sure that the gaps are closed in between that while you're installing that. And I'll show you some tips and tricks here on the actual installation part. So again, if it's not completely waterproof, I've heard not great things about installing it in the bathroom. Eventually water can get in between those seams and cause it to swell. A lot of people end up tearing it out of their bathroom to put in something like ceramic tile that's a little bit more water environment friendly. So again, just find the right material for what you're doing and within your budget, and then you can go from there. So so I went with the Shaw Forte flooring for this project. Again, it's a composite material with the vinyl over the top of it. What makes it luxury vinyl is that it's the typical vinyl plank that you would see, just the vinyl by itself, but they've attached kind of a core material and the underlayment to it. So again, super easy to use. I chose to start in the corner of the room and work my way down line by line, row by row. And I'm about halfway through the living room area now and about to go into the kitchen. So installing the same material all the way through the entire mobile home for easy maintenance and repair in the future. And one thing to keep in mind, you'll see my pieces back there. It's best to do LVP completely random as far as staggering. A lot of people like to do thirds. Some people do half. I really just went all different varieties of lengths for a completely random pattern throughout the flooring. So from what I've seen in pictures, it seems to turn out the nicest when you do it that way. So yeah, just a quick tutorial on how to install these planks. So again, make sure your subfloor is clean and level before you try to install any of this material here. And again, the pieces do lock together. So with this particular brand, it's best to slide in the next piece kind of at an angle. And then you'll press it down once you get it into kind of the groove there, and you'll feel it when it clicks. And then take your rubber mallet, and it's important to use a soft rubber mallet on this floor so that you don't end up marking the material or damaging the floors. So piece down here interlocks, just give it a few taps all the way down to make sure it's seated correctly. And then you'll come in with your tapping block. Again, be very cautious when you're working along these ridges. It can actually cause those to break off as well. So it's important to make sure to make it completely waterproof that you're closing up these seams. You can kind of feel when they're not sitting right. Just go back through and tap it. Make sure that it's flush and make sure that everything is aligned. So I usually go on the seam of the previous one, kind of start tapping it. Don't put any weight on this one as you're tapping it because that will prevent it from moving where it needs to. But you can actually, you probably won't be able to see it here, but you can actually see it closing up this gap with the next one. So just do that for every plank. Make sure it's nice and secure. And then you just keep going. So then I would install the next piece and keep moving there. So if you have any questions or any ideas, things that might be helpful to other people installing LVP, please don't hesitate to leave those in the comments. And again, I appreciate you checking this out, and stay tuned for more.